Hello, everyone. So I just got back from my screening of The Flash. This is a brand new movie rated PG-13, comes in at 2 hours and 24 minutes long, directed by Andy Muschietti. So you probably know him from the director of the most recent It movies, It and It Chapter 2. This stars Sasha Calle, Ben Affleck, Ezra Miller, and yes, it takes place after the events of the Justice League movie from 2017. So not the Snyder cuts, but the Justice League. So yes, this is a continuation of again to everything the Flash, everything DC. So there was a lot of talk that this was going to be a big reset for the DC universe, moving on into James Gunn's DC universe. But yes, without further ado, let me get into my review for The Flash. So the IMDb synopsis for this is Barry Allen uses his super speed to change the past, but his attempt to save his family creates a world without superheroes, forcing him to race for his life in order to save the future. So from that, you can tell that this story was heavily influenced by the Flashpoint paradox. And I did find too that points in this movie definitely did pull a lot from Crisis on Infinite Earths in a lot of way. But again, too, it is the storyline of Barry wants to save his mother from being killed and again to free his father from being wrongfully framed for his mother's murder. So in order to do this, he reverses time to save his mom, but ends up putting another world in complete danger, and then thus the multiverse in complete danger of collapsing in on itself because of, again, to what you probably know as the butterfly effect and things like that. So it pulls from events such as that as it goes through. And again, too, I don't want to get into spoilers too much. I'm definitely not going to again, too, there's a lot of controversy around this movie because of course Ezra Miller's actions within the last few years, and I am not going to take that into effect of me again to ranking this movie, but I will say that I did have a hard time seeing Barry Allen and not Ezra Miller in a lot of ways, which did take away from the experience in a lot of ways. But they did put on a very good performance for the most of this movie. There's a lot of times where I found that the dialogue and the scripting was very, very cheesy and corny and just way too silly in a lot of ways and not serious enough for what the story needed to be. But again, too, I did find that their performance was very, very well done. So again, too, how this story pans out, it is again to Flashpoint Paradox is what it pulls from, which for most any comic reader makes this a very, very predictable story. And unfortunately, it is my least favorite iteration of everything Flashpoint Paradox that's ever been done in any form. It is such a dumbed down version of it in a lot of ways, a very simple version of it, and I found a version that's really didn't take advantage of the characters that they're putting in. I found it was a waste, definitely, of Sasha Calle's Supergirl. I found it was a little bit of a waste of Michael Keaton's Batman in certain ways, just ways that, again, too, don't really have Barry learn much of anything as it goes through the movie, as it progresses through. And unfortunately, his counterpart, so the 18-year-old Barry that he comes across in this new world, I just found again too was very, very bland in a lot of ways. I found that there wasn't enough done with Barry's mom and his dad in this new life that was really any meaningful ways until the very ends of the movie. Again, too, there's a lot of parts within this movie that I thought, like when I was watching it, I thought it was outstanding and really, really well done, really funny, really hit on a lot of themes. It looked great in a lot of ways, but then there is a lot of moments that are just so bad, whether it be again to just very cheesy and poorly written dialogue to again to wasting characters, not having them again to just really underplaying a lot of their characters and their importance. There's a lot of times too where the CGI in this movie is fucking terrible. Just not acceptable really in any way for what again to the technology that is nowadays. It's not acceptable to have like PlayStation 2 graphics come into a movie of again to this caliber and especially of this budget. Pretty much any time that Barry is again to running through the force and just reversing time is when this movie looked at its worst, and again to just horrible, horrible CGI in a lot of ways. There's one opening sequence that involves like babies and the worst like baby CGI you've ever seen, fake baby that you've ever seen. I know people rip on The Walking Dead, and there's a lot of other like movies, TV shows that have done some CGI babies, but this definitely takes the cake for being the absolute worst. Again, I get why they couldn't use a real baby in terms of the context of the scene, but it's just horrible CGI. But again, there's times where the CGI looked great and the fights were absolutely awesome. There's one part where they play a White Stripes song and it's really, really good. But then you realize that how just small scale this battle was and how small stakes the battle is too. That just really takes away from it all. That's again to everything built up to this moment, but it's just so tiny. And again, too, when it plays off of Man of Steel and massive events from the DC universe that have gone beforehand. And again, too, when you take into context of what the comic book did, what a lot of the movies did, it's just so lackluster and boring in a lot of ways when you are comparing it to that source material. Where, again, like I said too, this is the worst iteration of the Flashpoint paradox that has come around. It is by no means a bad movie, but it is just very, very disappointing in a lot of ways. Again, too, there's a lot of times where I was laughing. I found the humor was really good, but then they toss in poop jokes or just rehash the same joke over and over again in a lot of ways. Again, too, there's times where they really don't utilize the characters, but then there's a beautiful moment shared between Barry and his mom near the end of the movie, which I really, really enjoyed. Great moments with Michael Keaton's Batman that kind of play into what Barry's relationship with Ben Affleck's Batman does. And yeah, I don't know, it's really weird. There's some great cameos that are placed within this, but there is one mid-credit scene. It's more so like an after-credit scene. That's again too brings in a cameo that's not worth staying for. So once the movie ends, don't stick around for the end credit scene. It's really pointless and just a dumb mid-credit scene that had no business being in there. So again, too, there's times where I really enjoyed this movie and I thought it was brilliant in a lot of ways, but there was just again too so many moments that were so bad that took away so much life and energy and just it took away a lot from within this movie. And I don't understand how some people were giving this the perfect score, saying it was one of the best superhero movies of all time. It really isn't. It's just very, very poor, and especially too when the source material that it comes off of is just a million times better in every single way. Just again, too, I don't understand how this movie was getting the absolute hype that it did. So really, with everything taken together, I'm gonna have to give The Flash a 6 out of 10. I was very, very excited for this movie. Again, too, it's the first standalone Flash movie ever, so I was very, very hyped. Of course, as you can tell, absolutely love the character, but even though the performance from Ezra was good, it's really, really hard not to see again too it's very hard to see Barry and not Ezra, which takes away from the experience in a lot of ways. A lot of the dialogue's bad, a lot of the CGI is poor, a lot of the storytelling is very lackluster and convoluted, and again too just nowhere near the scale that it needs to be in terms of its stakes, in terms of its world building. Again too, it doesn't really do anything to build up to James Gunn's DC universe like kind of like it was promising to do. So I don't know. It has fun cameos. There are moments that I did really, really enjoy. Would I watch it again? Yes. But do I recommend going to the theaters to see this? I would definitely wait until at the very least, goes on to rent or again to Netflix, any streaming service that you could watch it for a little bit cheaper, just a subscription price, because I really don't think this movie is worth the hype that it got, nor worth the price of full admission at a theater. So if you've seen The Flash, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. And of course, if you like this review, definitely give it a thumbs up and check out everything I do on this channel through my playlist down below. And I'll link some top here for convenience sake. Thank you for subscribing and turn that little ringer on so you know when I upload new videos. And yeah, just awesome, guys.